I am standing in an empty house. 2 weeks ago, this place was supposed to be the foundation of my forever. The walls still smell like fresh paint. The floors still shine from when Amanda and I spent that Saturday afternoon cleaning them, laughing about whose turn it was to mop. 6 years. That is how long I loved her. 6 years of building a life, making plans, believing in a future that felt as solid as the ground beneath my feet. There are words you cannot take back. Sentences that shatter everything. I still have the engagement ring in my jacket pocket. It feels cold now. Just metal. But let me take you back to that March evening when everything I thought I knew turned to dust. Before I tell you what happened that night, drop a comment below and let me know where you are watching from. Have you ever had that moment when someone you trusted completely just looked you in the eye and destroyed everything? If you have, or if you want to see how this whole thing played out, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you will want to hear how this ends. Amanda and I met during my last year of college. She was the kind of woman who walked into a room and everyone noticed. Not just because of her long blonde hair or those bright blue eyes, but because of the energy she carried. She made everything feel possible. We dated through my first job, through her career changes, through every up and down life threw at us. 6 years of memories. 6 years of trust. I work as a software engineer at a tech startup here in Austin, Texas. The pay is good, around $120,000 a year. Amanda worked in marketing, pulling in about $75,000. Together we were solid. Stable. We had just bought our first house 8 months earlier, a beautiful 2-story place in the suburbs. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, a backyard, perfect for the kids we talked about having someday. We put down $80,000, most of it from our savings. Well, mostly my savings, but I never kept score. We were a team. The wedding was set for June. We had picked this gorgeous resort in Cancun, Mexico. Destination wedding, 150 guests. White sand beaches, the whole dream. Amanda spent weeks designing the invitations. We had already sent them out. The honeymoon was planned too. 2 weeks in Italy. Rome, Florence, Venice. I had booked the flights, the hotels, everything. First-class tickets because I wanted her to feel special. I wanted everything to be perfect. Amanda was always enthusiastic about everything. That was one of the things I loved most about her. She threw herself completely into whatever she was doing. When we got engaged, she cried happy tears for an hour. She showed that ring to everyone. She started planning the wedding immediately, talking about flower arrangements and cake flavors and what song we would dance to. But something started changing around January. At first it was small things. She started coming home later from work. Big project at the office, she would say. I believed her. Why would I not? I trusted her completely. Some nights I would wait up, make her a late dinner, ask her about her day. She would smile tiredly and say it was just work stress. I would rub her shoulders and tell her it would get better. The late nights became a pattern. 10 at night, 11, sometimes even midnight. I started noticing other changes too. She stopped talking about the wedding as much. Before, she would spend hours showing me pictures of centerpieces or discussing whether we should have a live band or a DJ. Now when I brought it up, she would just shrug and say, "You decide, I am too busy." One Tuesday evening, I came home early and found her sitting on the couch texting someone. She was smiling in this way I had not seen in weeks. Really smiling with her whole face lit up. When I walked in, she jumped a little and put her phone face down. "Who was that?" I asked casually. "Oh, just a coworker," she said. We were talking about the project. But something about the way she said it felt off. The way she clutched that phone. The way her smile disappeared the second she saw me. I told myself I was being paranoid. We were getting married in 5 months. She was probably just stressed. Wedding planning, work pressure, all of it. I decided to be more supportive, more understanding. I picked up extra chores around the house. I told her to take it easy, that I had everything under control. Then in mid-February, I noticed she had changed her phone password. We had always known each other's passwords. It was never about checking up on each other, just convenience. If her hands were busy, I could check her messages for her. If my phone was charging upstairs, I could use hers. It was normal for us. But one morning, I picked up her phone to check the weather, and the password did not work. "Hey, did you change your passcode?" I asked her. She looked at me with this expression I had never seen before. Defensive. Almost angry. "I need my own privacy, Jesus. You do not need to know everything. Stop trying to control me." Control her? I had never tried to control anything. I was just asking about a phone password. But she stormed out of the room, and I stood there confused, wondering what I had done wrong. That night, I could not sleep. I lay in bed next to her, watching her breathe, and I felt this growing pit in my stomach. Something was wrong. I knew it. But I did not know what, and I did not know how to ask, without sounding like I did not trust her. She started going to the gym more. She bought new clothes, expensive workout gear, a whole new wardrobe. She changed her hairstyle, got highlights, started wearing more makeup. When I complimented her, she barely acknowledged it. Our friends started noticing too. At a dinner party, my buddy Carlos pulled me aside and asked, "Is Amanda okay?" "She seems different." I made excuses, said she was just busy with work. But deep down, I knew something had shifted. The woman I was planning to marry felt like a stranger. The first real shock came on a Thursday afternoon in early March. I had a meeting canceled at the last minute, so I headed home around 3 in the afternoon. As I pulled into our driveway, I noticed a black BMW parked on the street. Sleek, expensive looking, not a car I recognized from our neighborhood. I walked into the house and heard voices coming from upstairs, laughter. Amanda's laugh, bright and genuine in a way I had not heard in months. My heart started pounding. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. The bedroom door was half open. Inside, Amanda was sitting on our bed next to a man I had never seen before. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with perfectly styled brown hair, parted to the side. He wore an expensive-looking gray suit, the kind that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. He looked around 40, maybe a little younger, with that confident posture that successful people carry. They were not doing anything obviously wrong. They were just sitting there, 2 wine glasses on the nightstand laptop closed beside them. But the intimacy of the scene hit me like a punch. This stranger in my bedroom on my bed drinking wine with my fiancée in the middle of a workday. Jesus. Amanda jumped up, her face flushing red. "You are home early." The man stood up smoothly, extending his hand with a broad smile. "You must be Jesus. I have heard so much about you. I am Derek, the new senior director at Amanda's company. She was just showing me her portfolio, some of the marketing campaigns she has worked on. Really impressive stuff." I shook his hand automatically, my mind racing. The laptop was closed. There were 2 wine glasses. It was 3 in the afternoon on a Thursday. What portfolio required sitting on someone's bed to review? Congratulations on the upcoming wedding. Derek continued, his smile never wavering. "Amanda talks about it all the time. You are a lucky man." I looked at Amanda. She would not meet my eyes. "Yeah," I managed to say. "Thanks." Derek left a few minutes later, all charm and professional courtesy. The second the door closed, I turned to Amanda. "What was that?" "What was what?" She crossed her arms defensively. "Why was your boss in our bedroom? Why were you drinking wine at 3 in the afternoon? Why was he sitting on our bed?" Her face hardened. "Are you seriously questioning me right now?" "Derek is my director. He wanted to see some of my work samples, and I have them on my laptop. We were working Jesus. That is all. But apparently you cannot handle me having a professional relationship with a male colleague." "Professional colleagues do not usually sit on each other's beds," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "Oh my God." She threw her hands up. "This is ridiculous. You are being insecure and controlling. We are getting married in 3 months and you cannot even trust me. What kind of foundation is that for a marriage?" She started crying. Real tears streaming down her face. and suddenly, I was the bad guy. I was the one who did not trust her. I was the one with the problem. We argued for hours that night. She said I was suffocating her. Said she needed space. Said if I kept acting this way, maybe we should reconsider everything. For 3 days, she barely spoke to me. She slept in the guest room. When I tried to apologize, she would just shake her head and walk away. Eventually, I convinced myself that maybe I had overreacted. Maybe I was being insecure. They were just working. People work together all the time. Just because I felt uncomfortable did not mean something wrong was happening. I decided to trust her. I had to. We were getting married. But I could not shake the feeling that something was very wrong. A week later, I was paying our credit card bill online when I noticed a charge I did not recognize. $340 at an upscale steakhouse downtown. The date was the previous Thursday evening at 8 p.m. I remembered that night clearly because I had texted Amanda asking when she would be home, and she said she was working late eating a sandwich at her desk. My hand started shaking as I scrolled through more charges. There was another one. $280 at a boutique hotel in downtown Austin. The date was from 2 weeks ago on a Wednesday night. I remembered that night too. Amanda had come home around 11 and said she was exhausted from back-to-back meetings. When she got home that evening, I showed her the charges as calmly as I could. "Can you explain these?" She barely glanced at the screen. Oh, the steakhouse was a client dinner. The hotel was for a team-building event. The company booked rooms for everyone so we could have drinks and not worry about driving home. "The company reimbursed you?" I asked. "They will," she said. "I just have not submitted the expense report yet." It sounded reasonable, but something nagged at me. The next day, I ran into the wife of one of Amanda's co-workers at the grocery store. We chatted for a few minutes, and I casually mentioned the team-building event. She looked confused. "What team-building event?" she asked. "My husband has not mentioned anything like that." I felt sick. I went home and said nothing. What could I say? I had no proof. Just a growing mountain of coincidences and lies that she could always explain away. I was drowning in doubt, suffocating under the weight of suspicions I could not prove. But I knew. Deep in my gut, I knew. On the last Friday of March, I made a decision. I could not live like this anymore. The not knowing was killing me. I needed to talk to Amanda, lay everything out, and hear the truth. Whatever it was. I got home from work around 6. Amanda was already there, which was unusual lately. She was sitting on the couch looking at her phone. I sat down next to her and took a deep breath. "We need to talk," I said. She put her phone down, and I saw something in her eyes. Resignation, maybe. Like she had been expecting this. I laid it all out. The late nights. The changed password. The wine glasses in our bedroom. The credit card charges that did not add up. The team-building event that never happened. I was not angry. I was just tired. Tired of feeling crazy. Tired of being lied to. Amanda was quiet for a long time. Then she sighed a deep, heavy sigh that seemed to come from somewhere far away. "You are right," she said softly. "You deserve the truth." My heart stopped. This was it. This was the moment everything would either make sense or fall apart completely. "Jesus, you are a good man," she began, and I already hated where this was going. "You are stable, reliable, safe. You have always been there for me. You are exactly the kind of man I should want to marry." "Should," I repeated. I met Derek 3 months ago when he transferred to our office. At first, it was just professional. But then we started talking more, working on projects together, grabbing coffee. And I felt something I had not felt in a long time. She looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes that broke me. Pity. "He makes me feel alive, Jesus. Do you understand alive? Like every moment is exciting and new and full of possibility. I wake up excited to go to work. I feel attractive and interesting and desired in a way I have not felt in years." The words hit me like bullets. Each one found its mark. What about us? My voice came out hoarse. What about the wedding? The house? The 6 years we have spent building this life? I did not mean for this to happen. She said, tears forming in her eyes. I swear I did not. But it did happen. And I cannot just ignore it. I cannot marry you feeling like this about someone else. So what are you saying? I am saying I do not know anymore. I need time to think, to figure out what I really want. I sat there staring at the woman I thought I knew, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just a cold, clear emptiness. She wanted time to think, time to decide between me and the man who made her feel alive, like I was an option. Like 6 years of my life, my love, my trust, my future, was something she needed to weigh against a 3-month affair. Okay, I said. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. You need time. I will give you time. I stood up and walked to the guest room. I did not sleep that night. I sat in the dark, my mind racing planning. By the time the sun came up Saturday morning, I knew exactly what I had to do. I called my real estate agent at 8 a.m. I need to list the house, I told her. Today. She was surprised. We had only bought the place 8 months ago. Are you sure? She asked. The market is good right now, but selling this fast you might take a loss on closing costs. I am sure, I said. List it today. Next, I called my lawyer. I explained the situation, asked about the house ownership. It was in both our names, but I had the receipts. $80,000 down payment. $64,000 came from my savings. Amanda had contributed $16,000. I had proof of every transfer, every payment. My lawyer assured me that in a sale I would get my fair share. Then I started making the other calls. The resort in Cancun. Canceled. Lost $3,500 in deposits. The wedding photographer. Canceled. The cake baker. The band. The florist. All of it. Canceled. The honeymoon in Italy. I called the airline, the hotels. Lost $1,200 in cancellation fees. I did not care. It was just money. I texted Carlos and asked if I could store some boxes at his place. He said yes, no questions asked. Good friend. I started packing. My clothes, my books, my computer, my personal documents, everything that mattered. I moved it all out piece by piece while Amanda was at work. The house sold in 10 days. The market in Austin was hot, and we had kept the place in perfect condition. We got $392,000. After paying off the mortgage and closing costs, I walked away with $198,000. My share calculated based on what I had put in, fair and square. When the lawyer called Amanda to inform her of the sale and settlement, she lost it. She called me crying, screaming. What are you doing? How could you sell our house without talking to me? We can work this out. We just need to talk. I kept my voice steady, calm. You said Derek makes you feel alive, so go feel alive with him. I am done being your backup plan. I am done being the safe choice, while you figure out if you want excitement more than commitment. Jesus, please. The wedding is canceled, I continued. I have already informed all the guests. The honeymoon is canceled. The house is sold. I am taking my time now. Time to build a life that does not include someone who sees me as boring and stable, instead of someone worth choosing. I transferred all my money into a new account. Changed my phone number. Blocked Amanda on every social media platform, every messaging app, every possible way she could reach me. I sent one email to all the wedding guests. Simple and direct. The wedding has been canceled due to personal reasons. We apologize for any inconvenience. Then I requested 3 weeks off from work. My boss, who knew me well, took one look at my face and approved it without questions. I booked a flight to Seattle. My older brother lived there with his wife and 2 kids. I needed to be far away from Austin, from the house, from Amanda, from all of it. As the plane took off, I looked out the window at the city getting smaller below me. Somewhere down there, Amanda was probably crying, probably confused, probably calling her friends to talk about how I had overreacted. And maybe Derek was comforting her, making her feel alive. I did not care anymore. I had chosen myself. Finally, after months of being made to feel crazy and insecure and controlling, I had chosen my own dignity over someone who saw my love as optional. Seattle was cold and rainy, which matched my mood perfectly. My brother did not ask many questions. He just let me stay in his guest room, made sure I ate, and gave me space when I needed it. His wife was kind too. She made coffee every morning and left it outside my door, a small gesture that somehow meant everything. I spent the first week barely doing anything. I slept late, took long walks in the rain, sat in coffee shops watching people live their lives. At night, I would lie awake replaying everything. 6 years of memories, her laugh, the way she used to look at me like I was her whole world, the plans we made. I wondered where it went wrong, what I could have done differently. But slowly something shifted. I started to realize that I had not done anything wrong. I had loved her completely. I had been faithful, supportive, present. I had built a life with her, for us. She was the one who chose to step outside that. She was the one who lied and deceived. She was the one who decided that feeling alive was more important than honoring her promises. My brother took me hiking in the Cascade Mountains. We climbed for hours without talking much. At the top, looking out over the endless trees and peaks, he finally said, "You did the right thing, you know," walking away. Some people would have stayed, tried to fix it, begged her to choose them. But you chose yourself. That takes guts. I nodded. I was starting to believe it. By the third week, I felt ready to go back. Not because I was over it. You do not get over 6 years in 3 weeks. But because I knew I would survive it. I would rebuild. I would be okay. I returned to Austin and found a small apartment downtown. $1,800 a month, 1 bedroom. But it was mine. Just mine. No shared history. No ghosts. Oh. I threw myself into work. My boss had a new project starting and I volunteered to lead it. I started going to the gym 5 days a week. Joined a recreational soccer league. Started cooking real meals instead of ordering takeout. I made new friends through the soccer league. People who did not know Amanda did not know my history. To them, I was just Jesus, the guy who played midfield and made terrible jokes during water breaks. It felt good to be seen as just myself. 4 months after I left, Carlos texted me. "You need to hear this," he wrote. "Not because I think you care, but because you deserve to know karma is real." Apparently, Amanda and Derek were still seeing each other. But things were not the fairy tale Amanda probably imagined. Turned out Derek had a wife and 2 kids. They lived in Houston. He only worked in Austin 2 weeks out of every month. The rest of the time, he was home with his family. Amanda found out when Derek's wife called her, confronted her, told her exactly what kind of man she was throwing away her life for. A liar, a cheater, a man who had done this before and would do it again. But it got worse. Derek had given Amanda chlamydia, a sexually transmitted disease. She had to get treated, had to inform her doctor, had to deal with the shame of it. Word got around her office. People started avoiding her. The woman who had an affair with the married director and got an STD. Office gossip is brutal. Derek's wife filed for divorce. His company launched an ethics investigation because he had been sleeping with a subordinate. He ended up losing his job. Last Carlos heard, he had moved back to Houston, trying to salvage whatever was left of his life. Amanda tried to reach out to me through mutual friends. She wanted to apologize, wanted to explain, wanted to see if maybe possibly we could talk. I sent one message back through Carlos. I wish her well, but our lives do not intersect anymore. Please do not contact me again on her behalf. I meant it. I did not hate her. Hating her would mean she still had power over me. I just did not care. She made her choice. She lived with the consequences. That was not my problem anymore. Sitting here now, almost a year later, I can honestly say I am happier than I was when I was planning that wedding. I have a good job that I love, friends who value me, hobbies that fulfill me. I have been on a few dates, nothing serious yet, but I am not rushing. I am learning to be whole on my own first. I learned something important through all of this. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. When someone tells you that you are not enough, that someone else makes them feel more alive, do not beg them to see your worth. Just walk away. Choose yourself. Choose your dignity. Because the truth is, anyone who truly loves you will never make you feel like an option. They will never compare you to someone else. They will never make you question whether you are enough. Real love does not need to feel like a constant audition for someone's affection. Amanda wanted to feel alive. And maybe Derek gave her that for a little while. But feeling alive and building a life are two different things. Excitement fades. Butterflies die. What matters is who stays when things get boring, when life gets hard, when the initial rush wears off, and you are left with just the daily reality of loving someone. I saved myself by leaving. If we had gotten married, the divorce would have been so much worse. Financially, emotionally, legally, I would have been trapped in a marriage with someone who did not truly want me. Instead, I got out clean. I kept my dignity. I kept my self-respect. And honestly, I am grateful. Grateful that she showed me the truth before it was too late. Grateful that I had the strength to walk away. Grateful for the friends who supported me. Grateful for the chance to rebuild my life into something better. If you are watching this and you are in a similar situation where someone is making you feel like you are not enough, like you need to compete for their love, like you are the safe backup plan, let me tell you something. You deserve more. You deserve someone who chooses you every single day without hesitation. And if they cannot do that, you need to choose yourself. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved because they did not value you? How did you find the strength? I read every comment, and your stories help more people than you know. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. Your support means everything and helps me keep sharing these real-life experiences. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there realize that sometimes the biggest betrayal becomes the biggest blessing, because it forces you to choose yourself when someone else will not choose you. And that choice, that one decision to walk away with your dignity intact, that is what truly makes you feel alive.